You also know that the press secretary said that your husband circulated pro-Hamas flyers. Did he?
That's not true.
Is Mahmoud pro-Hamas?
These are accusations that the Trump administration keeps pushing on him.
But what do you say to those?
I think it's ridiculous. It's disgusting that that's what they're resorting to, that's the tactic that they're using to make him look like this person that he's not. Literally, it's so simple. He just does not want his people to be murdered and killed. He doesn't want to see little kids' limbs being blown off, you know?
Well, that's the wife of Mahmoud Khalil. He felt an instant love, and within 9 months he was married after arriving here. It's amazing how that happens. Jeff Lax is in studio. He's a CUNY law professor at Kingsborough Community College, founder of Safe Campus, which advocates for Zionist Jews discriminated against and excluded on college campuses. Sadly, it's a huge story that's getting bigger, especially since the detainment of Khalil, who's now in Louisiana at an ICE prison. And then he'll be maybe in court today, but at some point he's going to try to say that I'm just exercising free speech as a green card holder. I didn't do anything wrong. Jeff, is he right? Is he just being discriminated against because he's pro-Palestinian?
No, that commentary from his wife is expected. What's she going to say? This guy loves Hamas. This guy works for Hamas.
But she didn't come out and say he hates Hamas. She says it's ridiculous, which could mean anything. It means she could be saying, put her under oath.
Yeah, what she said, you're right. She was very careful what she said. But look at his background. He worked for UNRWA. He worked for the Syrian government. He lied on his visa. I mean, his background is not exactly stellar.
Why did he get in? I mean, think about how many valedictorians around the country can't get into Columbia.
That's a great point. And they're being harmed. Look for what? For people like him.
There's a documentary coming out now put by Macklemore, the rapper, about, they call it encampments, the story of the encampments on Columbia. He narrates it. Khalil narrates it. That's not going to help his cause, is it? As he tries to tell everybody he's just a student trying to voice his concern.
No, I would like to know really how he got a document with Hamas's logo stamped on the document.
What do you mean?
He was distributing documents, according to the government, according to the Trump administration, that had Hamas's logo on the document, Hamas literature, Hamas propaganda on Columbia's campus. So if someone is not directly tied to Hamas, explain to me how they get a document like that.
That's true. Also, handing out pictures of Sinwar and Nasrallah.
Yeah,
you're doing that. What are you saying?
Right. You're saying you support Hamas.
What ties do you think they have to Hamas?
They meaning
the student groups that were in the middle of all this Barnard and Columbia unrest.
Oh, I've been saying this for years, Brian. We know that the foreign funding is a big factor here. We know that there are faculty members that are working with NGOs connected to terror organizations. On my campus, I've told you before, Anthony Alessandrini was raising money using public buildings to raise money for medical aid for Palestinians, which is tied to the PFLP. It's a front group.
I want you to hear some other people speaking out. Democratic Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib about Khalil's arrest.
Mahmoud's rights are our rights. In the United States of America, no matter your immigration status, no matter, again, who you are, you have constitutional rights in our country. The detention and threatened deportation of Mahmoud is illegal and is a direct assault on our constitutional rights to due process, freedom of speech, a right to protest, and on dissent itself.
You're a professor, is she right?
This is not freedom of speech, what he's doing. That's number one. Number two, the Supreme Court's going to ultimately decide the Aliens Enemies Act. It's going to happen. The judge was talking about it yesterday on the 5, and she's right. And I think that's going to be interesting. I don't understand this take that Democrats are putting out there, which is that this law is very old. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. If a law is good law, there are a lot of really old laws. Contract laws go back hundreds of years, even before America existed, and they're still good law. If a law is good, a law is good. By the way, if it would have been a bad law, Brian, it would have been overturned a long time ago.
So we're seeing not just Khalil, we're seeing other people being picked up and tossed out. A woman who's a Tufts College University PhD student was picked up on camera and is in Louisiana now, deportation facility, an ICE facility. Harvard can confirm that Kasia Petrova, who was a research associate appointment at Harvard, they don't like her actions. They think they're anti-American. She's been picked up. And then we hear Marco Rubio come out, and he says it's not just these high-profile ones. Got 27.
might be more than 300 at this point. We do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa.
You're saying it could be more than 300
Sure,
visas?
I hope. At some point, I hope we run out because we've gotten rid of all of them. But we're looking every day for these lunatics that are tearing things up.
300. Do you believe that?
He sounds like me. I use lunatic about 10 times a day now
Right.
when I'm talking about these people. No, I can't believe it. I mean, I can believe it after what I saw for the past 4 years. But I'm worried that 4 years is not enough time to course correct.
So Saturday, I think it was you that wrote a column that Colombia said, hey, I'm going to hit all 9 demands from the Trump administration, so we'd like our $400 million back. Then there was a conference call with Colombia saying, 75-minute conference call, at which time I guess somebody was able to listen. And when professors expressed concern that one of the Trump demands was taking the curriculum away from the Middle East, Near East, and Southeast professors away from the department and put it towards a provost or the president, they said, don't worry, that's not going to happen. You'll still be in control. That shows the duplicity behind the scenes, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, if faculty heard that, there would be riots on campuses because there's an idea of academic freedom that faculty are in control of curriculum, not the administration. But I can tell you that at CUNY, that is not what's happening at Hunter College, where they have the most anti-Semitic curriculum, which we've been talking about. They passed the most anti-Semitic curriculum that I've seen in my years in education. And I can tell you that I just got it from a very high-level source of mine, that it was the president herself, President Nancy Cantor. I like naming these people, Brian, you know that. Nancy Cantor at Hunter College, it was her idea for the Palestinian Studies program that calls Israel an apartheid, genocidal, settler colonial state, came from the administration. That is not how things work, and it's outrageous that they're doing that at Hunter College.
And what about the lawsuit the families are filing through an attorney saying that there was a link between these Palestinian groups and Hamas and the attacks?
Yeah, we talked about this a number of months ago, Brian, that I was telling you that I was hearing reports out of Middle East sources that the Hamas captors were telling hostages that we have operatives on U.S. campuses. And there were a few articles in Israeli outlets and in Jewish outlets. And Mark Goldfeder has brought a lawsuit on behalf of 9 of these families of the hostages. And as I understand it, your watchers on Sunday are going to get quite a scoop because according to Mark, he's got the receipts.
Lizzie Solovieski and Mark are going to come on. She just got back from Israel where they had an anti-Semitic meeting, sat next to Prime Minister Netanyahu. She has been in the face of the pro-Palestinian protesters. She weighs about 110 pounds and is absolutely fearless and ferocious. And she thinks that finally it's not a matter of debate. Someone's financing this, and they're come over here at these elite institutions. They get in, they pay full freight, and they create unrest and make people, not just Jewish kids, just make people who just looking to get education concerned that they're here for a different reason. I have no idea. We have to revisit the foreign aid from other countries. We have to revisit how many foreign students get into these elite institutions at the expense of Americans.
Yeah, there's no question. It's exactly what Rubio said. We can't let these people in anymore. And a visa, a green card, that is a privilege, not a right. And we have to vet these people.
Cut 28.
The people that we're getting rid of in our country are vandalizing. They're not protesters. They're taking over college campuses. They're harassing fellow students. We let them in our country to study. We gave them a visa because they said, I want to go to your university. I want to get a degree. They didn't say, I want to go to university and I want to vandalize your library and I want to chase Jewish students down the street and I want to wear a mask over my face like if it's Halloween and terrorize people. We didn't give them a visa to do any of that.
Yeah, and that's what he's doing. And they say that it sent shockwaves. One of these who self-deported to Canada to avoid deportation says that when Khalil was arrested, it sent shockwaves through Colombia. And I love that.
I love that too. It's not just Jews, Brian, it's Christians too. And it's anyone who believes in Western values. That's the bottom line. If people think this is just Jews, they are sadly mistaken.
So there's the story out, which you're referring to, Jeff Lax, is a federal lawsuit alleges that the leaders of the pro-Palestine student groups at Columbia had advanced knowledge of Hamas's October 7th attacks and responded in real time with a coordinated propaganda campaign designed to support and amplify the terror group's message on U.S. soil. At the center of the claim is an alleged protest toolkit that began circulating October 8th, one day after the Hamas attack, which plaintiffs argue must have been prepared beforehand Also, Columbia has been at the center of the controversy, as you know. And then there's, why would you be posting things showing a map without Israel, just Palestine in the area, one country, on October 6th, unless you knew what was happening October 7th?
Yeah, and Brian, you got to ask Mark about this on Sunday. The Students for Justice in Palestine on the campus created their website, get this, 3 minutes before the Hamas attacks on October 7th. Before, 3 minutes before, not 3 minutes after.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
What does it tell you?
It tells you a lot. Get it from Mark directly.
Right. Well, we'll look sort of get that. But as this moves forward, you do the investigation. Hopefully, it reveals some things. But where do you think the biggest problem is? Do you think it's the school needing the full tuition? Do you think it's foreign aid coming in, and then in turn they want to influence the curriculum at these schools?
I think it's a combination of, like Marco said, lunatics who are running our campuses, which has to end. I mean, these people have to be vetted also. And like the Hunter president is a disaster. What she's doing is absolutely, completely outrageous. The chancellor of CUNY is outrageous. The head of Columbia, totally outrageous what they're doing over there. So, but yeah, of course, it's the foreign funds accepting the money. I think Congress should act on that. I think there should be legislation that really addresses this issue of foreign funding and how it can be used. And it's not just the anti-Semitism. I mean, you got the Russians, the Chinese really come over here, and that's really predominantly what they're doing. We still don't know why the Chinese illegal immigration to our country is up over 500%. It's slowed down now. They're forced to come through the northern border. I still don't know why. That hasn't been effectively explained to me. Lastly, this is the last bite from Marco Rubio. Cut 29.
We don't want those people in our country. They're not demonstrating for. They're going beyond demonstration. They are going and they're creating a ruckus. They are creating riots basically on campus, and it's unfair for students. Some of these schools are some of the most expensive schools we have in America. People pay a lot of money to go to these schools. They borrow money to go to these schools, and you can't even go to class because some lunatic who's covering their face is running through campus, spray painting things, harassing people, and they're in my country as a guest. We want them out. Every one of them I find, we're going to kick them out.
I understand the sentiment, and he's got the power to do it. Let's see him start doing it in massive numbers, just like the border. When you send the message, you can end up in a El Salvadoran prison. They say it's not worth it. And my hope is a lot of these unrest that's happening on campuses, they know what they're about to do, but if they get caught, they're going to ask themselves, is it worth it? Where does this Khalil go? Back to Syria? I mean, that's where he's from.
Yeah.
Then he went to England for a while.
Yeah.
Go back to your country. That's where you send him out. I believe that the freedom of speech thing has got to be regulated when it comes to a student visa. Unless they say, hey, listen, I'm looking to protest, don't really like America, like to go to class there, but I'm going to be a problem. And then if we still let him in, it's our problem. But in my sense, is Khalil didn't say that.
Well, and not only that, Columbia is a private campus. It's not a public ground. The free speech thing only is as good as Columbia allowing it to happen. If you had a normal administration there, they would say we're not allowing this on our campus, and free speech doesn't apply. They're not a government.
Yeah. Thank you. Jeff Lax, thanks so much. What's your next challenge, Jeff?
My next challenge, I don't know. There's so many things going on, but I think it's attacking the foreign funding, like you said, and I think it's helping I really think it's helping the FBI task force. If you have a connection to me for Leo Terrell, I can't get in touch with him, but I would like to work with him because I know stuff that nobody else knows.
Absolutely. I will provide that contact. Leo Terrell's in charge for the Justice Department of Anti-Semitism.
That's amazing.
Jeff Lax, thanks so much. Stay safe.
Thank you, Brian.